SCR TV, channel of God's love. A warm welcome to all our viewers on this episode of Activist of Goa. Dr. Claude Alvares is a highly respected and noted environmentalist based in Goa. For more than 30 years, Dr. Claude Alvares is fighting a relentless battle to protect Goa's environment right from its hills and forests, wildlife sanctuaries, to the Goan beaches, the coastline, the riverbeds, the sand dunes, and is keeping a close watch on the mega projects and infrastructure that can cause irreversible damage to Goa's fragile ecology and environment. Dr. Claude Alvares established the NGO Goa Foundation to fight for the protection of the Goan environment, Goa's mineral resources, and his biggest ever victory was when the Supreme Court imposed ban on illegal mining in Goa. Dr. Alvares holds a special place in the heart of every Goan for the role he has played in the interest of Goa and Goans in protecting the motherland for the future generation. Dr. Alvares is a role model for every Goan who holds Goa dear to his heart. We have pleasure to bring to you Dr. Claude Alvares, the environmentalist of Goa. Dr. Alvares, a warm welcome to you to our studios today.
Thank you, Daniel.
Doctor, can we begin with a very simple question? Can you tell our viewers whether this being an environmental activist was by choice or was it by accident in your case?
Well, it happened in the late 70s, so I don't know right now whether it could be called an accident or a choice. But sometimes one gets pushed into things without knowing that one is going in that direction. My first exposure was the editor of a magazine in Bombay called InDesign, Inside Outside. And he said, Claude, why don't you do a piece on Goa, finished in 10 years. This was in 1978.
Okay.
And as an editor at that time, seeing what was happening in Goa, he was already a bit worried. So he said, please do me an article on Goa finished in 10 years.
Goa finished in 10 years?
Finished in 10 years. That was by 1988.
Okay.
But, and I wrote the article and it was reprinted also several times later. But it gave a comprehensive picture of what was happening, including mining at that time.
Okay.
Then this pelletization plant at Shiroda, Chogles and so on. Everything I covered in the article and gave a sort of a prediction that things were not going back. And yes, in 10 years, we may find a different Goa than what we are seeing today. Because when we came to Goa, and, both my wife and I, Norma, got married and we left Bombay and came to Goa, which was the reverse of what everybody was doing. They were all going to Bombay. We decided to get out of Bombay. At that time when we came to Kalangut and we settled down there, it was a very beautiful village. Very, everything was approachable by foot. The beaches did not have the type of population that they have now. And so you could see at the horizon things coming which would profoundly disturb Goan life as we know it. And today we can actually say with a fair degree of confidence that certain parts of Goa appear to be completely annihilated, means completely extinguished insofar as their Goan identity is concerned. I mean, Kalangut village is no longer a Goan village. I mean, it is like a suburb of Bombay, like Vasai Virar, The Goans themselves don't go to the village anymore. It was supposed to be the queen of beaches. But there are still, as I say, parts of Goa, there are still very large portions of Goa which are still in the same state as Kalangut was in 1977-78 when we first came here. And if we do something, and if every Goenka does something, there is still a chance that this type of havoc that has taken place in a few places, a few cities like Margao, Vasco, a few villages like Anjuna and Kalangut and all, this will be controlled situation where only the mad people go because there is nothing Goan there left anymore, and the rest of the place is still left for the Goans not only the Goans, the future generations of Goans to enjoy.
So coming back to the activism part of it, can you recall which was the first actual, social issue that you came up with as an activist? Was it something to do with sand mining, if I can myself recall correctly?
Yes, 70 in the early 80s, there were 2 or 3 issues going on in that period. That was before the Goa Foundation was started. There was an agitation against the Zuari in the early 70s for the pollution that they caused.
The
Zuari Industries was releasing arsenic into the water.
All the fish were dying.
And it is the first case where the Goenkars got together and closed down the plant in the whole country. Never before has it happened that on pollution ground a plant was shut down because of the agitation from the people at that time. At the same time also there was this what we call extraction of sand from the beaches. Now these Goan sands from all the South Goa coast, the sand has got a very high component of silica.
Okay.
And that sand is very useful for use in the foundries. So people may not recognize now today coal is going, but at that time there used to be wagon loads of sand
actually
going from Arosi, Kansauli and all those beaches to foundries in Pune,
states.
in Maharashtra. And there was an agitation against it. There was an anti-sand extraction committee going on against it. So you had different groups of people fighting different issues at that time. Those issues may no longer be alive. Today you cannot remove sand from the beaches, and Zuari, is already sold and it's gone to some other company and so on. But at that time, it was these issues that brought us all together, because when we first came to Goa also, we were looking after I had finished that article for Inside Outside. We were keeping our eyes open on the environment front. Environment was just coming into recognition as something that people should
awareness was coming in, that somebody had to protect it.
Yes, and Goans were the first there. I mean, they have been first everywhere, whether it was music industry, whether it was everything, they were there first. But even in this, they were first because they could appreciate beauty. Goans could appreciate beauty. They could appreciate the beauty of the Kola Bay and not see it, filled with dead fish. And they could appreciate the beauty of the sandy beaches and not find big holes there where all the sand has been taken officially. It was an official sale. It was not illegal. It was an official sale. The Department of Mines had given leases for extraction of this sand because of the silver. Yes, and it was freely taken. There was no money paid at all to the Goa government.
But if you look back now, from then and now, actually illegal sand mining is still a matter of concern. But despite the ban on sand mining, do you think the government is serious about, taking control or stopping this menace that's happening? Yeah,
at that time you must recall it was illegal. It was legal sand mining from the beaches.
From the beaches, whereas now from the riverbed.
Today it is from the rivers.
Riverbed.
Today is the riverbeds because of the construction industry. The real estate industry has taken over Goa.
Yes.
And compared to mining, today the potential for damages from the real estate industry, and they require enormous quantity of sand. Without sand, you cannot construct. And they are getting sand now at huge rates. I mean, it is 2,500 per truck. Sometimes it is 2,500 per cubic meter, when in the rest of the country, and before, it was only 500 rupees per cubic meter. So even Goenkars who are building an ordinary house, they have to pay 2,500 because of illegal sand mining.
Exactly.
Because, why illegal? Because everybody has to be paid. The police has to be paid, director of mines, the captain of ports, all their staff have to be paid. And there's an entire mafia, illegal mafia that has developed, which is not willing to listen to anybody. Now there is a contempt petition filed by many people who are fighting to protect these rivers of Goa. That time it was the beaches, now it is the rivers of Goa. In many places, Mandavi River, the banks have collapsed, the trees have fallen.
A lot of erosion of the soil.
Lot of erosion. But they are not concerned.
So now talking about this, the banks are collapsing, the erosion of soil is taking place. There are people who are living on the banks of the river and carrying out agriculture, farming and all. What about their livelihood? Isn't it going to impact their livelihood in future if we don't take corrective measures now and very seriously?
Well, they are the biggest opponents of sand mining today. All the farmers
on the coastal.
They have come to our office very often and they have joined our campaigns. We have set up a network of activists in all the different parts of Goa where illegal mining is coming. Every day you will be surprised, every day 2 or 3 complaints come into our office, then they are routed through our advocates to the nodal officers appointed by the High Court. They are sent to the IGP, they are sent to Captain of Ports. Every day this happens. But despite this, it continues. Periodically it comes to an end, then it stops, then it again restarts, because the government fully supports illegal mining. The government fully supports it. There are constituencies, there are politicians who are involved in it. The politicians, as a matter of fact, most of the politicians in the Goa Assembly are involved in every illegal activity in the state of Goa. They benefit from it the most. If, for example, from ordinary, if you want to take iron ore from any mining pit in the state of Goa, you cannot do it today. But if you go and make the deal with a politician, you will find that the MLA's trucks are involved in the removal of the ore, because once the MLA's trucks are involved, then nobody will want to stop them, and the director of mines will keep quiet, and the police will keep quiet, and everybody will keep quiet.
So, talking about this riverbed sand mining, as you're saying, what's happening now. Now, how serious is this threat to the ecology of the villages surrounding this place?
Well, if you remove more sand than is coming into the river, normally sand comes from above the river. You know, it's a movement. It's a big rock.
Okay.
Ultimately, it breaks down into smaller rocks,
and
finally it becomes fine particles, and
of
it comes.
Sand.
It rests there. When it rests on the river banks, then it develops its own ecology, its own ecosystem, which leads to the generation of clams and the clam fisheries, Tisrios and all that. Everything comes along in that chikor.
So it's all a part of that cycle.
It's part of that cycle.
Okay.
And it's important for the river bank that there is a certain amount of sand always in the certain level is maintained.
So that bed of the river is constant there.
Yes. Now, the moment you go below 3 meters, 4 meters, now it has reached 20 meters.
Oh my God.
They are no longer removing by hand. They are removing using a bucket which is attached to a 20-foot pole, and that pole is attached to another 20-foot pole. And then they are scooping. They have developed technique of scooping. Now, because that became very difficult after a certain time, now they have got the machinery of what they call suction pumps. So they bring the suction pump, they put it by the side of the river, they run it on a battery, and they suck the sand directly into the truck, and the truck leaves. See, very highly organized operation. So the impact on the river is definitely going to be disastrous, because, as you say, the first sign is that the river bank collapses. And as the river bank collapses, then all the barns along will collapse, the water will come inside, the paddy fields
into the villages and all.
Yes, it's a destructive activity. It should not be permitted by anybody.
So now shifting a focus a little from this sand mining, somewhere in the mid-80s you established the Goa Foundation. What was your objective behind forming this Goa Foundation then?
Well, as I told you, we brought together
so you wanted
all
the
people.
To be more organized.
Yeah, because there was Francis Barreto who was fighting Zuari, then there was Walfrid Anta who was fighting sand extraction, and there were different people in different areas fighting different issues. There was Dr. Joe D'Souza who recently died.
Yes.
He was also involved in doing environment work in the state of Goa. So what we did was we called them all for a meeting, and we said, let us join all our forces together and form the Goa Foundation. And that's how it started. It was basically to improve each other's work, increase our power of the group, because if one person does something, sometimes it does not have much of an impact. But if there are 10 people...
So be more organized kind of thing.
So it started in 86, yes.
What were the challenges that you faced then in the initial stages, when you took up environmental issues?
Well, the challenges were being presented to us. The first challenge, of course, was to stop the sand mining of the Goa beaches. So we moved a petition. This is the first petition that we moved in 1986 before the High Court. And our lawyer at that time was Justice Ferdin Rebello.
Yeah.
And he was very much concerned. And he said, I'll take up your case. There is no need for you to pay me anything. So we fought that case in the Bombay High Court. The Bombay High Court agreed. They cancelled. The Goa government also agreed that it was time to close down that particular industry, and it was closed with a judgment. Then immediately thereafter, Professor Sergio Carvalho wrote a letter to the High Court about hotels coming up on Goa beaches. That was in 1987-88. The first hotels were coming up. There were permissions being given to Ramada, to Alcon, to all these people to put up hotels on
Five-star
the
properties.
Welsang coast, Welsang, Kansani, Mobor coast. The Leela, all those started in 1987 onwards, 88. So we went to the court because they were given environmental conditions as part of their clearance orders, and they were violating those conditions. For example, Ramada was supposed to put up only 9 meters high structure. They put up a structure which was 42 meters.
Much beyond that permitted capacity. Okay.
So we went to court, we said that that was not possible, but they had already put up the structure. Now, only to be fair to them, they did not utilize that structure for anything. They only, as a sort of an architectural marvel, they created a huge hall with the point reaching to 45 meters. But nobody was staying inside there. The staying was still only on ground.
At that 9 meter level.
So we went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that right now the structure is there, we will not touch it, but no other person will be allowed to put up beyond 9 meters. So because of that action, till today no construction in the coast can have more than 9 meters. So we stopped sand mining of the beaches. We stopped the hotels having any type of, otherwise you would have had Singapore type of 30 stories high, 40 stories high. Yeah, with no pollution control measures, with no sewage treatment plant, throwing everything into the river, just like is being done by some people today. It's not that it's entirely cured.
Sir, today Goa Foundation is seen as a savior of Goa and Goans. And with the kind of activism that you do, people have, a strong faith in what Goa Foundation, can achieve. But now, if you look back, are you a happy man that you have actually awakened the conscience of every Goan through this Goa Foundation organization and the activity that you do?
I think you are giving us too much praise and too much credit, because as I told you in the very beginning, every Goenkar is an environmentalist. Every Goenkar loves his Goa. They don't want that Goa. They want their festivals. Now, just now I was passing in Porvoni, there is a very big banyan tree. And there are about 50-60 Hindu women who are, wrapping the thread around the banyan. Today is the festival.
Ceremony of that,
So I'm saying they all love their trees, they love their rivers, they love their fish, they love their fields, they love their everything they love. They love to go on the hills to collect bensas and firewood and whatever it is. They don't want that Goa to change. They may want some other things. They will willing to go to Kuwait and all to get them, but here they don't want these things to be changed. So if you say that we have done why? Because there was a lot of support and people understood what we are doing. But besides us, there were a large number of other groups. An older group is that was started just 1 or 2 years before by Sarto Almeida, Nirmal Vishwa, this Kamlakar Sadle. They formed this group called Nirmal Vishwa. That was before the Goa Foundation. I think it was in 1984 or something. They also did a lot of work in Salset and in Ponda in those areas. Subsequently, there was the Jagrut Goenkaranji House, which Professor Sergio Carvalho founded. He is still alive and well. I mean, he is of course kept to his house because he is not allowed to get out, and he has got 1 or 2 problems or whatever it is. But he is still, I go and see him every couple of weeks and to sit and chat with him, because these are our inspiration.
Correct.
They understood. Sergio Carvalho went to the airport in 1978, not 78, in 1988 when the first German tourists came.
Charter flight.
Condor tourists.
Okay.
And he went with eggs and cow dung and threw it at the buses and said that we don't want all these type of tourists coming here in big hordes and all that sort of thing. And it became a big issue at that time, that this professor from Nirmala Institute of Education was willing to go to the airport with eggs and cow dung and throw it at the buses to express their annoyance at invasion of mass tourism in Goa. And today we say what a prophet he was.
So that was the resentment mindset.
Yes, what a prophet he was. Today we say kite zala, kitlo log anga bharla anga. I mean, how many people can we look after? And how, by some stage you would say, Baba, atam hase stop kar, suspend more tourists from coming to Goa. Now we have tourists coming every day. They come during the monsoons. They come during the day, the night. They spoil people's sleep. And we said Sergio Carvalho was the prophet at that time, not Goa Foundation.
Sir, तुम्ही सुप्रीम कोर्टान PIL घातले मायनिंगाचेर. उपरांत सगळी मॅटर स्टडीज ऑन मायनिंगाचेर बॅन आयलो. More than a decade mining was banned. Now slowly the mining activity is going to start in the near future. How do you feel as you look back on your action of the PIL and now the future of sustainable mining as you speak about in Goa? Are you happy with the manner?
That credit we will take.
Yes.
About mining, not just that we stopped it. Stopped mining
But
was
brought in
stopped by
a system.
Manohar Parrikar himself.
before, yes.
He passed the order on 10th of September 2012.
12.
Closing it, and then ministry closed it by withdrawing all the environment clearances on 14th September. So we have not closed down anything. We have only kept it closed because once you close something, it is difficult to restart. But what happened was we also learned a lot during the mining struggle. For example, when we moved the court, we are basically as environmentalists, we said enough damage has been done to Goa's environment, to its fields, to its water bodies, to its forests, to its wildlife by mining. It is time to now close it and there is too much illegality. So we went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, look, Goa Foundation, we are very much in sympathy with you. We also want to close down mining in Goa because we have seen from the photographs what damage it has done. And people in the coastal area don't realize because they don't go to the coast. Mining is inside.
Correct.
They don't go. They are all settled down here. 80% of the population here, they don't go there. They don't realize.
They don't know what's happening actually.
But we took 50 photographs of mining, what mining has done. And we gave it to the Supreme Court judges and they were shocked. They said, 2 of the judges said, Naka, this should not start again. But then finally they had their discussions and they heard the other side and then they finally said, see, Goa Foundation, you want to stop mining, but the law permits mining. Parliament has passed a law permitting mining. So as long as they do mining properly, neither you can oppose it nor even we can oppose it. They said. We cannot oppose because there is a law. You have tomorrow, you start a political party and amend the law and say that stop mining, then everybody will be happy and they will follow the law. But till today we cannot do anything. So they said that you can restart mining provided you do this. So that is why they are stuck. Because in order to do what the Supreme Court has said, it is taking a lot of time.
And the system has to be in place.
Yes.
Sir, when you were taking up this issue and when the government was thinking about restarting mining, you had one opinion that you expressed, that the government should set up a mining corporation and carry out the activity by themselves.
Yes.
Now, what do you have to say on this now, following the outright auctioning of the mining leases?
See, the government does not have till today any clear understanding or policy about how to do mining in the state of Goa. That is what they were required to do. The Supreme Court said, you will grant new leases, but only in line with a policy. Now, the policy has to be very clear. Why you are going to do mining, who is going to benefit from mining, what is the impact is going to be on the economy, etc. It must be very clear. They have done nothing of the kind in order to come up with what they call a fake political solution, because the Chief Minister wants to show that I am doing everything to restart mining. Therefore, they said we will go for auction route because it is quicker than starting with a corporation. Now, in 2018 only we told them, when Supreme Court closed down the mining a second time, we said, see, go through a corporation because it is quicker. Because it's a government corporation. When the government corporation is doing something, the permissions are easier to get and you can do things better. You can do much better because the ore will be with the corporation. The corporation can auction it. All the money will come to the government. 95% of the money will come to the government. Today, 95% is going to outside. Only 5% is coming to the government. So we said you do it to the corporation, the money coming to the Goa government will also improve by vast amounts. And you will be able to restart. They refused to listen to us. Then after 3 years, they set up the corporation. They said, okay, we will follow what the Goa Foundation does, we will set up. So they set up the corporation. After setting up the corporation, they put the file in the desk and they have not done anything about the corporation. Then because of the pressure of these mining companies, Vedanta, Fomento and all, now these are the companies which are not the good companies. If you want to start mining properly, sustainable mining without damage to the environment. The last companies you should take is Fomento and Vedanta, because these were the worst companies as far as mining is concerned. They did not follow any rules. They really did not follow. As a matter of fact, a company like Vedanta actually showed people how to break rules. And they broke rules. And the first rule that they break is by dealing with the officers. Means seeing that the officers of the government are given enough resources, private resources, to keep quiet. That is what happens.
Are you not convinced now, once the mining restarts after this auctioning procedure is in place, that it will be a very sustainable mining activity?
No, not the way they are doing it now.
You're not happy at all?
No. As a matter of fact, they are doing it very badly. They don't have a policy. They don't know what they are auctioning. They are auctioning to the same people, I would use the word rascals, who were operating those leases earlier, and nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. Now, I can tell you how stupid they have been doing it. In Sirigaon, they have given the lease to the same parties and included in the lease the entire village of Sirigaon. Now, anybody would say when the Portuguese gave it, that time they gave for manual mining on small scale, so they did not bother that there was a village on the lease. Today you can't do that. There's a village of 2,000 people on the lease, including the all Goa famous temple of this Devi Larai. That is one of is supposed to be one of the 7 sisters with the Milagris. That the government has approved on the mining lease. Now it shows you how stupid the government can be, because you don't put the Devi Larai temple on a mining lease, because what it means is that if he wants to remove the ore from under the temple, he has got the power to do so. And they can evacuate the whole village and tell the village, you go somewhere else. Now, would anybody in his right mind grant a lease like that? They have granted the lease under auction. So they are not doing things properly at all.
You have always said, that Goans are the rightful owners of all the mineral resources that Goa has in their landmass, and the government is only the custodian. Can you please elaborate on this?
Well, that is the law. That is what the Constitution says. That is what the Supreme Court says. It says that the mineral ore, the beaches, the forests, the wildlife sanctuaries, all these things, the true owners are the people of the state. People in UP don't own the minerals of Goa, and we don't own their minerals. Only the minerals which are along the seashore, up to the 200 nautical miles, that is owned by the union government. But otherwise, all the minerals which are found in a state belong to the people of the state. They are the owners. That means if there is any benefit from the sale of the minerals, it should go to the citizens.
Come to the citizens.
So what we told the government was, and we have said it in writing also, that unless every citizen of Goa, that is 15 lakh population, gets receipts from the sale of minerals in Goa, we will not allow you to start mining in the state of Goa. That we have already told them. We said that you should keep all the leases with the Mineral Corporation. The Mineral Corporation can give out the leases only for the purpose of extraction. We give you this much area, you remove 10,000 tons, but then you give me back the 10,000 tons. I will give you your money for removing the ore, for the employees, and even 20% profit. But beyond that, I am not giving you. You give me back the ore. I will then sell the ore, put all the money into the permanent fund, because in 10-15 years time, when the ore is over, at least the money will be there. So what we are saying is that the value of the ore which you are extracting and which you are selling to the international market, the value of it in terms of rupees has to be put into a permanent fund.
Permanent fund.
Then the permanent fund has to be invested. They will have fund managers. They will invest the money in, whether it's in mutual funds or government securities or whatever it is, because every year the value of money is going down. So there is a cost of inflation. So if I put 100 rupees in the fund, after 10 years the value will be 10 rupees. So I invest the fund so that whatever money I get from the investment, I put back into the fund to deal with the problem of inflation. Because 10 years later, the value must still be 100 rupees.
Exactly.
So I put that money back. Still, there will be extra money after inflation. That extra money, we said, has to be given to every Goenkar as a dividend, citizen's dividend. Because he owns the ore, he gets the money into his account. Now, this is not a foolish scheme. It is done in Norway. It is done in Alaska. It is done in many places, even in a place in Africa, Botswana. The money from mineral resources, because it is non-renewable, has to be put into a permanent fund, kept for the next generations, and only the income from the fund can be given to the citizens.
Okay. This is what you have proposed to the government.
This is what we have proposed, and we said you
and
do
you're
it.
firm about it.
We are firm. We have said that we own the ore. Where you are giving these things on auction, whose ore are you auctioning? You are auctioning the ore that is belong to the people of the state. So we want to know what you are auctioning, how much money you are getting, whether you are getting the best price for it. We want to see how the income is being distributed. All that we want to see.
So, consequent to the ban on mining activity, the villages in the mining belt have revived the farming and agriculture operation. Are you happy with this? Because there was always a concern as far as agriculture was concerned in this mining belt.
Yeah,
which was at the receiving end because of
these 12 years has been a very good time for people to examine whether they want to have mining in their area or not. Because even the agriculture department said up to 30% increase in agricultural production now in mining areas. And they are very happy with it. Agriculture department happy. Mining department may not be happy because they want only to mine the ore and to destroy. They have no interest in preserving the agricultural fields. Though the director of mines, Mr. Shanboge, wants to eat rice every day. But he has no interest in protecting the rice field. He said, let them give for mining.
So on this note, what would you suggest to our government to give a boost to agriculture in this mining belt for a better future, so that youth also are attracted to farming?
See, today farming is different from what it was earlier. Earlier, yes, nobody would pay you 3 rupees per rice. Today, the best quality Goan rice is commanding a price of minimum of 60 rupees. 60 rupees red Goan rice if you want organically grown,
yes, and
it is some places the price is higher. Now, you have to only find out how to be able to do it once again. You may have forgotten. Now, the Goa government has got very good schemes for agriculture. Once you get a Krishi card, you get a lot of subsidies, you get even to putting up fences around your properties, to get cows, to get this. It's one of the most progressive governments you can get. They will even give you money for putting these big houses, I don't advise people to go into those things, those hot houses and all, because they are all failures. But I'm saying that money is available. There are institutes for agricultural research in Goa which are very good. They are willing to support people. They have programs for beekeeping. They have all sorts of programs going on in the state of Goa. So any youngster who wants to do, and I can show you significant number of youngsters who have now said, enough with this IT, enough with this industry.
Yes.
I want to be my own boss. I have got my parent land. I will do some agriculture there, and I will be happy.
And they are happy to go into the field and soil their hands.
And they should be. Yeah. They are to be congratulated. They are the real heroes. Because when everybody wants a government job and everybody wants a computer job and everybody wants only this stuff, which of course does a lot of has impact on people's health, to go back into the field and to work there and to raise plants and to raise trees and all, that is the future. Because if you want to deal with climate change, you can only deal with it through the use of plants.
Correct.
You can't deal with it through the use of computers and sitting in government offices, because they are the source of climate change destruction.
So, talking about climate change, I have a question for you. In recent years, the last 2-3 summers, they are very hot. Goa is going through a very hot spell of summer during the April-May season. We have it now also. Do you think this is the fallout of ruthless cutting of trees, the depletion of green cover, urbanization, concretization of our towns and villages at a very rampant pace?
It is not
it?
just a problem of Goa, Daniel. It's a problem all over the world.
Yes, but Goa is slowly entering that
Goa's
scenario.
environment is not protected in the sense that, you know, what happens in other parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka, which we are part of, over which we have no control. We have no control. If they are destroying their trees in the Western Ghats and they are doing a lot of nonsense there for whatever purposes, then if it is going to have an impact on Goa. And Goan activities in the last several years have been quite severe, but as I said, they are in pockets. The greenery is still very good. We still have 60% forest area. We are, you know, the population has kept the greenery going. It's only the people who have come from outside who now want to put up these projects and want to do speculation and real estate who are the real problem. But I'm saying even there are Goans who are supporting them, because unless a Goan sells his land to them, they cannot do that damage. So it's a mixed bag. But Goa is going to suffer. I mean, if you look at the state of Goa's action plan on climate change, that plan itself shows that 20% of Tiswadi in the next 20 years, please let me repeat, 20% of Tiswadi Taluka, including Panji, is going to go underwater. There is no point in having a real estate industry if it is going to be underwater. If you go to Mala in the monsoons, the office of the Panjim Planning and Development Authority is always underwater. You cannot approach it. They have to put a special ramp. This is the status of our planning authority. So people should think what is going to happen on the beaches. No beach is going to survive. What sort of a tourism industry where you are destroying your main resource? These shack owners, how much of the sand dunes they have destroyed? And it's not Goans who have destroyed this. Their shacks are being resold to people from Delhi. People from Delhi don't know about sand dunes. So they come and they destroy them and nobody stops them.
Sir, I want to come up with a question here. You know, during the 70s, I grew up on the northern coastal belt, being from Bardesh, okay? The Kalangut seashore, the Baga beach, Kandolim were just very known places to us. And there were a lot of sand dunes stretching from Kandolim, Kalangut, Baga onwards. And the sand dunes were of a big height also. But in the recent years, I don't see so many sand dunes as they were during my growing up years in 70s.
No, it's a very dangerous situation.
Have you noticed this change on our coast?
If you remember, Baga had a very big sand dune. It was a huge sand dune. It was the biggest sand dune along the Baga Kalangut belt. It was huge. It was a single
like a hill
sand dune. And we used to go up there and then roll down on that sand dune. Now that means that the height of the sand dune is about 4 to 5 meters. And it's very tall. Now that you can't find anymore in the rest of Goa, because they have removed the sand, they have flattened it, they are using the sand and putting it in sandbags to protect the shack from the water when it comes inside. Now these are totally destructive.
As a protective wall.
These are destructive activities. The government is purely responsible. The government should have said, we are going to give shacks here, but we are going to see how you construct the shack and we are going to see that you don't damage the sand dune. Because in the month of May, you can remove the shack, but the dune should be there. But the government is only a money collection exercise. And there will be illegal money collection, there will be direct money collection, there will be taxes and everything, but not one rupee of that goes back to restoring the coastal asset. Anyway, as far as we are concerned, we said in 20 years that asset is going to go. So there's not going to be much of a tourism industry which is based on this. There is still an opportunity right now to stop that destruction, to restore the sand dunes, because it will take 15 to 20 years for the sand dune to be restored. The sea itself will do it. The sea
by
and the
natural
wind,
process.
they will do it by natural process with some assistance. We put hedges all over so that the sand hits and falls there, and it slowly begins to build up. It's a standard technique. But there is not a single sign of any sand dune being reconstructed in the entire coastline of Goa, despite the fact that the Goa government itself is suggesting in its climate change report that 20% of Goa is going to go underwater.
Yes.
This is the state of our political leadership, of the people who are sitting in the assembly. They have no understanding of this. All that they are interested is, I am there for 5 years, how do I recover my money, or how do I make more money and be a rich man or a rich businessman after I finish my 5-year term. This is the tragedy of Goa, that the people who are ruling should no longer be there. They should be put into museums, and those museums should be locked up. And we need a whole generation of youngsters in the 25 to 35 age group, because it's their future that has to be sustained.
Secured.
Yeah, secured and sustained. If they don't do that, we have made fools of ourselves. We have destroyed. We have, by our methods, we have created an economic model, an industrial model, which is only based on destruction of nature. We have got no other way. But it's the youngsters, those who go back into the fields, the youngsters who learn about wildlife, the youngsters like the Amche Male campaign, which was able to defeat all these projects in Male. All youngsters between the age of 25 to 35, you can't imagine the power of that generation. Equipped with social media, equipped with Instagram, equipped with Twitter. You ask you and myself, we do not know how to do Twitter and Instagram and all that, but they know everything.
But our youth
they are
knows.
able to do campaigns, they can do things.
So, you just spoke about our youth. I have two last questions for you. We are running out of time. You said the thing has to be protected for the future generation and sustainable, as far as the youth are concerned, the younger generation is concerned. Do you have any vision for our youth wherein, to continue this activism in future, to have a kind of an institute or a school to teach the basics of activism for the future generation? Is there a need?
Well, there is a need, but I think, as I said, that this is something that you cannot create in people. You see, youngsters either begin to develop a love for nature and wildlife and the environment and for beaches and for forests and all. They begin to get that affection, or they don't. Now, much of it depends on how they interact with it, how often they interact with it. Now, the normal thing is the education system is that for 15 years you are put in a concrete box, which is called a classroom. And the defining character of that classroom is that it excludes you from the nature, from the natural environment. So you want to see what is a tree, you have to look on an environment studies book, a tree, this is a tree, but outside there are trees standing. But your this thing doesn't allow you to even encourage the children to climb the trees. We, when we were young, we used to be found only on the trees. All the cashews, the mangoes, we used to go and remove them, because that is the thing. So it has to come. Now, if you look at the Amche Mole campaign, these are all youngsters.
Yes.
But they have decided to do a career on wildlife, on insects, on birds, on the tiger and all that. And that brings the latent feelings of children back, because you see, all children are nature lovers. If you take
By
children,
nature, yes.
You take children of 4 years or 5, they want mud. We call it dirt, but they want mud. Mud is important for human beings. To be able to mati kalopak, your muscles develop.
Yes.
You throw mud on your hand, you throw sand, you send any child to the beach, you find them making castles and doing all sorts. Children like to interact with materials, with nature, with plants. They like earthworms. You put earthworms before children, all the children will go. You put snakes. Snakes, they have no fear of snakes. We put the fear of snakes, but otherwise they have no fear of snakes at all.
Yes.
Because my son,
This is absolutely correct.
began to love snakes only because he said snakes, he couldn't see any teeth, so he said they got nothing to do. He became a snake man.
Yeah.
And there are children who have come out, but they need that exposure. And if all the schools, they do it in Finland and many other places, a certain time of the school has to be spent in the forest.
Outdoors.
It has to be spent in the forest. In the forest, you learn everything about how the forest survives, because the forest is a living system.
Yes.
It survives without the intervention of human beings.
Correct.
We require a mall, we require market, we require piped water supply. Forest doesn't require it. It survives on its own.
Sir, one thing I want to ask you. Goa has been doing extremely well on the social activism front. And if I may say, social and environment activist, are today's Goa's unsung heroes. Can you imagine Goa without the presence of social and environmental activists?
No, 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 it's not possible. I think that even if the present level of environmentalists die and go, and many of our environmentalists have died, I mean like Joe D'Souza and Francis Barreto, all these people have gone. Siddharth, Karpukar, he died a few weeks ago. So we have lost a good number of them, but I have no fear that environmentalism and social action will die. One reason, of course, is the church. The church is a very significant source of, I don't go very much to church nowadays, but my wife, when she comes back, she said the Padri said this and he said that, and he said, what are you people doing and how are you people allowing this thing to happen?
So they're very proactive.
So that, somehow or the other, the school is not doing it, but in the church it is going down into people's minds. So a lot of the activists who come out have got that background and they have got that dinning in their ears, so it is helping a lot. But we have still got a very large group of people. I mean, in the last 2 months we had a public interest law course in Margao with Kare Law College, and we had 110 people who paid 3,000 rupees to attend the course, 2 months, addressed by all the lawyers, and 90% attendance. You can't get 90% attendance even in Harvard University. But there were 90% attendance of people attending.
So their interest level was very high.
Very high.
To learn something about the legalities.
That is the best part of Goa, that people are alive and fighting. And we want more to join them. And we want more people to give up their, we don't mind using these phones and whatever it is, but more people to come out. When Malawi people are fighting, to come out and support them. When people in Sangay are fighting, to come out and support them. All sorts of people are, every day landfilling is going on. We want people who are fighting, to be supported. And youngsters can do it. With one message on the, 50 people can come and stop any destructive activity on the spot.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us your time and making it all the way to the studios for this interview. So that was Dr. Claude Alvares. He has spoken his heart out as far as the environment is concerned, our rivers are concerned, our youth are concerned, our forests and our fields, and all that rich biodiversity and ecology that Goa has. Keep watching your favorite channel, the CCR TV channel. Thank you very much.